Alrighty, we got a J League match here today between xXLangusteXx and IIMaddinII. I believe these two are first and second, respectively, in the J20 division of the league. DZ, that is a ridiculous comment, which I will return to after I've looked at this kingdom for a second. So, let's see. The thing that jumps out to me is there's no gains whatsoever other than populate. And, very relevantly, no way to gain more than a single victory card per turn. So, like, your turn caps out at scoring 10 points per turn with the colony. That makes it unclear exactly how big you build. Colony, of course, does push towards building a little bit more, even with the single gains. There's Fountain. You can't trash coppers, so that might be of relevance at some point. So like if you just plan to buy 3 coppers at some point, they're functionally 5 victory points each because they activate Fountain points, and that might be worth it. Would certainly be worth it with provinces around. Probably pretty likely to be worth it with colonies as well. I think Counting House seems very likely to be playable here. I think probably getting like 1 or 2 populate seems good because basically every action I think is one that you want in your deck. Even Counting House, as awful as that card normally is, I agree that it actually seems quite reasonable here. You can't trash your coppers, and you're probably going to be discarding a lot of coppers with stables and probably some with Ironmonger as well. So Counting House might actually like draw you a few. I wouldn't buy a Counting House because you're going to take them involuntarily off of populate. I think my goal will be something like populate twice and then start buying colonies. Seer is okay. I don't think you want ultimately silvers, which is what Seer is usually good with. You could consider just like some masterpiece Seer thing. I think if Colony weren't around, that would look really good. It might still be worth considering. But you will have like some number of action cards, 2 to 4, because you'll have villages, envoys, ironmongers, moats, and then plus the starting estates. So Seer is probably a reasonably good card here. Band of Misfits looks like a good card. You can play it as envoy ideally, or play it as ironmonger or village if you need something else and don't have the villages. How do you open? I would think this is either Ironmonger Silver or Envoy Silver. Both look reasonable. I don't thank me in advance. Now there's some expectation that I give good and useful commentary. I think it's just me. I asked if anyone else wanted to join, but I didn't get any takers. So, doing this one solo. Anyways, how did they fail to get you to try tacos? You just like looked at a taco and you're like, I can't put that in my mouth. This is revolting. That's a good question. I think soft shell is clearly better. As a kid, I wouldn't even eat hard shell tacos. They're just annoying. But I've come around on thinking that they're a reasonable taco as well, but they're still the inferior taco. That is actually ridiculous. Okay, that I didn't expect you to have a valid excuse for not eating tacos, but a restaurant only accepting cash in 2021 is like a valid reason. Even taco trucks will have a credit card reader. And I wouldn't even take being a street taco as being a valid reason. Like, you're in New York City, right? And a New York City food truck should have an ability to take cards. I didn't even notice, but XXL had the 5-2. What are we doing on 5-2? I don't think Band of Misfits is optimal. It's probably fine though. I think probably either Stables or Seer. But Band of Misfits is reasonable. The reason I think I would prefer Stable or Seer better is because I would buy a Moat on 2 here. Seems like a reasonable card to have in your deck. You got plenty of villages and it's a draw card. And Seer and Stables are both non-terminal. Whereas, like, Band of Misfits can be non-terminal if you play it as Ironmonger or Village, but if you're getting Band of Misfits, I presume it's mostly for the Envoy effect, which clashes a bit with the Moat. I'm not exactly sure what the fastest path is up to 10 money. Like, theoretically, if you have a silver in your deck, then you can get to 10 with just like 7 copper as a silver and then an Ironmonger revealing a copper at one point, would get you to 10 once you're drawing your deck. So I don't know if you need to add like a bunch of money early on. You're at a restaurant in Brooklyn and they only took cash. Is this a New York thing? Did New York just... I do remember the first time I ever visited New York. I was still in high school. I was with my dad, and we went through a really sketchy McDonald's who they used one of those like credit card reader scams, and they were the credit card company caught it, but they stole the credit card info and were like charging a bunch of money on like random stuff in New York. How do they do it in the UK? Did they just like walk up with a credit card reader and put it in front of you? I don't really have any reason to think that is not better. I don't know why they do it the way they do it in America, but yeah, I feel like it's pretty universal for them to just like walk away with your card. It's hard to say too much here, just because I feel like most gains in this kingdom are honestly kind of reasonable. Like, you only have one buy, so it's like clicking one action at a time until you hit 10 seems like the goal. Restaurants suck is a take I would expect only you to have. Oh, if you just got here, Halo End, I was discussing. I think Counting House is like unironically a kind of good card here. I wouldn't buy it, but you're gonna get it off of Populate anyway, and I think it will serve a valuable function in the deck once you've got it. The best restaurant in Louisiana is a deli counter at a grocery store in Baton Rouge. Which grocery store? Like a local grocer or like Albertsons or something? The last time I was in New Orleans was like a month ago, and I went to a Subway, and it was the first Subway I've ever been to that served alcohol. They had a sign that said, "We sell beer," and there's a refrigerator full of beer on the back, and that was new to me. They also labeled all their sandwiches heroes, which seemed very regionally inappropriate for New Orleans. Yeah, so like po' boys is the New Orleans specific term. And heroes, I think, is like a Jersey thing. So I would either expect them to just have like the generic Subway like call them sandwiches thing because it's like a big chain and you're just a franchise, or maybe if they're trying to like reach out to the local crowd, you call them po' boys. But having the New Orleans one be the one that calls them heroes just seemed weird. Yeah, obviously not a fan of the gold. Again, I don't think you need it to get to 10. Just because like you got 9 money in your deck and some Ironmongers, you'll get to 10 once you draw your deck at some point. But XXL follows suit. Not, one's enough. One, please don't do it again. I'll give you a pass on 1 gold, but two. But shoot, one of them's already bought 2 golds. Who did it? It's IIMaddinII. IIMaddinII has bought 2. Two is surely too many. I think, like, while I think it's suboptimal, like 1 gold en route to populate, like I can tolerate. 2 golds is just beyond the pale. That's more than you need to get to 10. And so any $6 buys should just be one of these $5 actions. Probably like Stables or Sears is what I would click for quite a while. Fine Cajun Cuisine does not sound like the name of a grocery store. Interesting. I would call this a single game kingdom. I think for all intents and purposes, it has all the properties of a single game kingdom. Like technically there's populate, which can gain you multiple stuff, but like when it comes to greening, your deck's only doing 1 thing per turn is the key limitation here. Yeah, like the goal you're trying to get to is just have a deck that hits 11 reliably. Yes, that was I had the match versus Crabcat that had populate but otherwise no other gains. That one was a marathon rather than a sprint. Yeah, it was that one. That was the same one. So there were groundskeepers and big populate kingdoms. So it had a really big, relatively reliable deck, but no way to gain more than 1 thing per turn. And so there's also trader, which is important context. And so we got down to penultimate province, and then we started taking duchies. We got down to like the penultimate duchy. I think duchies emptied fully, and so then we got down to the penultimate estate, and so it was about to 3 pile. And so you can't take the penultimate estate or you open up a pile out. Oh no, it was about to 2 pile. There were cities. And so if you took the penultimate estate, it activated cities and they have plus buy and they like buy all the estates or something to that effect. But anyways, the key play was I had kept a trader and Crabcat hadn't. And so I started buying estates and trading them for silvers. And so then the Crabcat picked up his own trader and we started buying estates and turning them into silvers one at a time until he finally dudded. And that game was like a long time. It was like an hour or more, I think. Who bought Colony? IIMaddinII bought a Colony on turn 9. Yeah, not a fan of the Colony. So like on the one hand, it is a single game kingdom, right? So we did say you're not building too big. Your only real goal is to just like hit 11. Sorry, Evan, don't hit Evan. Hit 11 consistently, and because that's all your deck can do. But the fact that you've hit 11 once is not an indicator that you're going to hit 11 consistently for the rest of the game. So you still need to be building a little bit more than that. I said I probably wanted 2 populates, and then greening seemed like the right number to me. But, it might be a thing that you judge when you get there. Maybe just by 1 populate, or like if you already got a platinum in your deck, maybe a single populate's enough. Seer here, Mastermind, maybe Stables. Certainly one of those. These $5 draw cards look a bit under bought. Only one Stables has been taken and no Sears. They have a bunch of Ironmongers, which is fine. Ironmonger's a good card. All right, yeah, Stable, that's good. 8's a bit sad. 9 and 10 and 11 all look better than 8. I don't think you want Province at this juncture. Populate. Nope, we don't want to populate. Look at this hand. This is the problem with buying golds. This poor Mastermind. Mastermind's a really good card, but only if you have a decent density of actions so that you have a target for it. Yes, as with like every other take about food you've ever shared, hating chocolate is a ridiculous take. Chocolate is delicious. Dark chocolate's the best. If you haven't had dark chocolate, you should eat that. I don't think liking chocolate is a niche thing. I feel like that's just an innate facet of the human condition. Well, then they'll just have to suffer through that. That's just a price worth paying. How much is this? Is this 10? Maybe they'll be forced by... Oh, no, they still have Abandoned Misfits to resolve, so they'll probably get to 11 here. What's this bottom card? Okay, so... I certainly was not following their deck, but like ideally what you would do in that situation, and they didn't, is you want to pay attention to the remaining contents of your deck. If you knew there was a treasure card there, which they should have, a copper, it would have been better to just play a village rather than Ironmonger, so that you draw the copper but don't trigger a shuffle. Because as it happens, their Platinum and their Band of Misfits and stuff, they all missed the shuffle. They triggered a shuffle that's got none of the good cards in it. And they could have hit 11 without doing that. Wait, you don't like ice cream? DZ is just like an ascetic or something who doesn't enjoy feeling pleasure. You could consider copper here. I think might be the best buy for XXL. I don't know if you have time for it, but like getting starting on the fountain points. Yeah, they bought a copper. I dig it. Like you're a little behind. Colin's really low. Seems like you want to score whenever you can, and so copper seems reasonable. Fruit roll loops. I don't. Fruit roll ups. DZ might be an alien that's just like doing a a poor imitation of a human being. I don't think we can rule that out with any certainty. Now, Lord Riding would kick my ass. I'm pretty sure he's got like a 95% win rate against me. Something absurdly high. You don't like water? Are you a carbon-based life form? I'm not sure what IIMaddinII buys for 7. Both the copper gains have been from XXL. I feel like it's probably late for IIMaddinII to try getting in on the fountain action before the game ends. Stable seems probably reasonable. Water does not need to be carbonated. I assume you buy coppers if you happen to hit like sub 8 late in the game, because it's almost as good as a province, provided you buy 3 of them. The problem, of course, is that buying your first copper or 2 kind of commits you to buying a copper at some other point, and then maybe you don't hit a sub 8 number later, and then you're buying copper over province, which feels a little bit bad. But these decks are not hitting colony reliably, and I think that's an indication that they greened a little bit too soon. I think they needed a few more turns of building. Probably like 2. Like when you're hitting 11, I think that means bipopulate, maybe bipopulate one more time, then start in on the colonies. I think XXL is in the better position here, right? So, like, they can buy copper this turn, for example, and then they'll be up to 53 points. Yeah, I think this is just... Oh. They took a I thought that was just buying copper there. Yeah, I don't know about this. Oh, did they already have... Oh! Well, ignore me then. Oh, then maybe XXL's not in such a good position. I thought they were still at 2 coppers. I must have missed the 3rd copper buy. Never mind. Just province here. That colony looks like it. I mean, it might work out. XXL doesn't look super likely to hit 11 here, but that seems like a super unnecessary risk. Like you're down 43 to 44. So if you buy colony and they buy colony, they just win. And you have no idea whether they're going to hit 11 or not. Whereas if you buy province, well, now they can't buy colony, or they buy colony, you buy colony, and you win. So they have to buy province back. You buy province, they buy province, and that goes on for a bit, kind of like duchy dancing, but one step up because we're in a colony game. And then I would think that I could be wrong here, but I thought that IIMaddinII's deck had a bit more longevity to it because of all these stables that are in them. I don't like that duchy. That duchy is worse than nothing. There's one colony left. The points are close enough that whoever gets that colony is just like certainly going to win. And so the only real consideration right now is maximizing your chance of hitting 11. And obviously putting a duchy in your deck is reducing your chance of hitting 11. We might be a few turns before we get there. Because these decks have not been constructed so as to hit 11 with any degree of reliability. Yeah, lack of populate's killing them here. I'd buy copper here as IIMaddinII. I'm not even sure if it gets you up to fountain points at any point. Almost certainly doesn't. But they have so many stables that honestly copper seems like probably better than nothing for their deck. And yeah, like if they happen to dud like 3 more times, then fountain would actually be like an incredible amount of points for them. Yeah, I think the copper buy there looked reasonable. If IIMaddinII's going to hit 11, this would be the time. They've got a pretty good starting hand and a madman down. Not a madman, a mastermind. Same thing. I think I might consider masterminding the Ironmonger. I'm not sure about that. But Ironmonger might be the better card for your deck than Stables at this point. You don't necessarily want to discard all your treasures, because that's your payload. And your Ironmonger's going to be a lab a lot of the time with how many green cards are in there. They go with. I mean, the Stables isn't bad, but is it over? It is ongoing, in fact. It looks likely to end soon, however. It's either ending on IIMaddinII's turn right now or on XXL's turn immediately thereafter. Stables does just get like really awkward in the late game in kingdoms like this, where you have to discard the treasures with what you need to find, and then your hand's just full of green. We're not getting any closer. We've gone from 9 to 9 to 8. We're still at 8. Okay, this is gonna be a win now. We got to the end of our deck. Those 6 cards are like all treasures, so the Stables will get you to 11. Problem with Stables decks is that they are not stable. Yeah, so IIMaddinII did have the advantage of being player 1 there, and it actually might have made a difference because they got the 1 extra turn, and had XXL been the one to have that 1 extra turn, they would have in fact hit 11 on their turn. The huge Stables controversy with DXV. Was this the time that he made the no terminals mixed tournament and had to remove Stables? Because I contested whether Stables was non-terminal. I mean, I was right. Stables is not non-terminal. Stables is only selectively non-terminal if you have treasures in your hand, but if you don't have treasures in your hand, it's in fact terminal. And the theme of that mix was cards that could never bring your action count to 0, which Stables can. Yeah, Conclave wouldn't be allowed. All right, what about this kingdom? This kingdom looks a lot more interesting to me. Nice, simple, clean engine. We got Trashing, Salvager, Sacrifice, Lookout, technically Taxman. Draw is Storyteller, and that's it. Plenty of plus action, Throne Room, Farming Village, Village, Sacrifice theoretically. And plus buy is Salvager. Oh, that's actually a little bit interesting. So I actually think like you can thin really fast here, like any of the trashers and sewers. I actually think you don't want to. Because there's no true gains in this kingdom. You've got plus buy, like Salvager can trash a card and give you plus buy. But the key thing to note is that you have to trash a card to get the plus buy. And so your deck is actually increasing by at most 1 card per turn. So like you got a 10 card deck, you buy 1, you go up to 11 card deck. You buy another, you go up to 12 card deck, and so forth. And you can put as many Salvagers as you want in it. Like you put 5 Salvagers in your deck, you get 6 buys. But you got to trash 5 cards to get 6 buys. And so you trash 5 cards and get 6 buys. Well, you're still only increasing your deck size by 1 per turn. And so I think you don't actually want to thin super much because you just need like random stuff to trash late in the game because your deck is only going to be so thick at any point. And so I am not actually so much a fan of sewers. Like Taxman sewers or Salvager sewers would normally seem like a reasonable open, but it seems a lot worse here because I don't want to get very thin. I want to retain some level of stuff. Yeah, Taxman is also not net gains for the same reason Salvager is not. You can gain a treasure, but you have to trash a treasure to do so. So it has that same sort of, you're not net gaining things. Do we pick 2 actions to stick with? I'm not sure what that means. You mean for like Triumph Large purposes? Yeah, I don't know exactly. Like you want some storytellers, but I'm not sure what other action card you want large numbers of copies of. Yeah, the opening is also like not super clear to me, mostly because of that, reticence to trash heavily. Like I also like Taxman would seem good because of the like you're not truly thinning your deck and you don't want to truly thin your deck. But Taxman's like really liable to hit 2, which would be a really awkward number to hit. I think I might open Taxman Silver anyway. I think either Taxman Silver or Salvager Silver probably seem best to me. Like if you open Taxman and hit 2, you're really sad because like I want to gain something every turn if I can, with the gains being limited. Salvager, I would be trashing the estates, and that's gonna thin you a bit, but like some degree of thinning is obviously still good. Wait, opening Taxman does not mean playing money. I'm confident I open with Taxman more than I play money. Navigator. Well, I could see some rationale for Navigator. Here's my attempt to rationalize it. For starters, they must not have looked at the art. Because if you look at the Navigator art, you'd be like, good God, this card is so revolting. I don't want to have to look at it every time it shows up in my hand. But maybe they're not looking at the art, and so we can set that aside. Perhaps they're thinking far ahead. They're thinking they got that Shanahan thought of I'm thinking about Triumphal Arch points, and so I'm thinking what cards do I want to have multiple copies of in my deck? I want to have at least 2 stacks of action cards. Storyteller's 1. None of the other action cards look particularly great in large quantities, except perhaps Throne Room is not a bad card to have in large quantities. You can throw in your Storytellers, you can throw in your Taxman, but if you just got Storytellers and Treasures, these Throne Rooms might not be getting full use. So maybe they're thinking, well, look, I'm getting Throne Rooms anyway because I want that Throne Room Storyteller Triumphal Arch action. Well, I'd rather have a Navigator than a Silver because Navigator is a potential Throne Room target. And so this Navigator is really just like a 5 levels deep play at the Throne Room Triumphal Arch points. I get what you're doing, XXL. I understand the Navigator. I do believe Navigator's art is based on a real person. I have to assume this is one of the ones painted by Maura Koluski, because that's the artist who does like 95% of the terrible art in Dominion. If you see like ugly art from Seaside, it was Maura's art. All right, now I've gotten a little bit lost. So, IIMaddinII open Sacrifice Silver. That seems okay to me. Sacrifice is not a bad card. Village for XXL. Seems like a probably not to me. Unless they put it. Oh, definitely not gold. Certainly not gold. We don't want golds. Like this is definitely a kingdom where you can easily get deck control, and like not getting deck control seems like not an option. So I wouldn't be considering playing money here. Like you'll probably end up with golds. I think you probably at some point tax man a whole lot of your treasures up into golds, but I don't want to buy golds. So setting aside the whole like Throne Room Storyteller Triumphal Arch situation that I was explaining earlier, I guess it's worth explaining why Navigator is in general one of the worst cards in the game. Probably bottom 5, I think. Let's see, what's worse than Navigator? Harvest is worse. Philosopher's Stone is worse. I think there's only 2 cards that are just like definitively worse than Navigator in the game. And there's a few that are probably like about Navigator tier. Like Transmute, Venture, Cash are all probably like Navigator tier cards. The problem is, so it does the thing Silver does, and it costs more than Silver. So if you just want the plus 2 coins aspect, well, you can get Silver, which is generally a better card because unlike Navigator, Silver doesn't cost an action to play. Right? Navigator is a terminal Silver because you have to spend an action to play it, whereas Silver is just it's a Silver. You don't have to spend actions to play treasures. And so like it's theoretically giving you this little effect at the bottom. And the question is like, is that effect worth spending your action for the turn on Navigator instead of some other card? And the answer is just like pretty much always not. It's like a lot less flexible than it seems. It's not like Cartographer or something where you look at the 5 cards and then like you discard some number of them. You gotta look at 5 and you're like, all right, take them or leave them. I either want all 5 of these or another random 5. And it's like hard to do much with that choice. Like chances are the 5 cards are gonna be like either somewhat good, somewhat bad, some mixture, and you don't know what the 5 cards below that are. So like you can't really improve your deck too much by choosing whether to discard 5 or not. And so it's like at best very marginal. I think Royal Seal is definitely like a tier above Navigator. Like it's definitely Royal Seal is like one of those like bottom 20 cards, but it's like it's not Navigator bad. Yeah, I would think probably N.A. Smith. The conjunction of winning a bunch of A leagues and the championship seems like a good enough reason. DZ Madden is a football coach, and then there is a series of video games titled Madden that are named after him. Um, and there's one like every year. So like Madden 01, Madden 02, Madden 03, Madden 04, etc. I think I played Madden way back when I was probably in like third or fourth grade. And I think the copy I had was Madden 2001. And I assume they're still going. But I haven't followed football in a very long time. I still distinctly remember that the copy of Madden that I had, it had the song "American Idiot" in it by Green Day, but like heavily censored, so like you don't really get the message of the song coming across. Great song though. Big fan of Green Day. DZ, look what you done. They trusted you. Don't buy Province. It's too early. You told them to buy Province, and they bought a Province. You jinxed it. I think either Salvager or Taxman now for IIMaddinII. Like the thing I'm thinking about from their perspective is, so we have this problem in this kingdom, which is the only gains come at trashing stuff. So there's no true gains, and so Sacrifice or Lookout, which would otherwise I think be very reasonable cards in this deck, are gonna outlive their utility really fast because they're net reducing the number of cards in your deck, and you're like kind of constrained in this particular kingdom with how many cards you can get into your deck. And so when I want to do my like quote unquote trashing, I want to be trashing with Salvager or Taxman because they're trashing a bad card and they're replacing it with a better card, rather than just trashing a card outright. Which, again, normally is fine, but this particular kingdom is much worse than usual just because to gain cards you got to trash cards. So if you trash cards via Sacrifice or Lookout and don't gain anything correspondingly, you're throwing away your ability to gain stuff in the future. And so I was thinking, round about this time, I'm thinking about running out of potential gains. I want to transition into trashing with like Salvage or Taxman, salvage the Sacrifice and the Lookout, so I can start buying reliably two things per turn. There's like no kingdom ever that has been made better by the inclusion of Wall. DZ is like the Dominion Gorbachev. So here's a perfect illustration of like Navigator being worse than Silver. Like I'm not sure you should buy Province here. You probably shouldn't. But like if your prerogative was to buy Provinces and one of these Navigators or both these Navigators were Silver, you could buy Province. But in this case, you can't because you can't play both Navigators. So I think XXL has answered Shanahan's question of which two stacks of actions do you go for with Village and Navigator, and that's how they're going to score these Triumph Large points. Ooh, that was just an unforced. You know what those cards are down there. You know there's like a 0% chance that Lookout was going to hit a trash card. Uh, this is self-imposed pain. So I guess you trash a silver, discard Storyteller, draw the silver. Lookout's a tricky card. You definitely have to have some cognizance of what's in your deck and what's on top to play Lookout effectively. It's one of those cards I think newer players tend to hate because of these situations. But like a lot of times these situations are like they're you did it to yourself. Not always. Like I've definitely had situations where I play Lookout and you just like reveal your only 3 good cards in the deck and like you trash one, you're really sad. But like they happen a lot more when you're newer to the game because you play Lookout in situations where you really shouldn't have because you weren't paying attention. And like here where they had 3 good cards in their deck and nothing else, where they should have known not to play Lookout. Well, I was imploring you to give up on your love of the landmark wall. I mean, I suppose there's more modern political references I could have gone with as well. All right, more golds. Yeah, like I'm not a fan of the gold. If you take a tax ban, you can turn the silvers into golds and then salvage the tax ban later. Presumably pitch that. That hand looks pretty bad. Yeah, unfortunately, I think DZ's assessment of this kingdom is correct. I think we're going to witness one of the common injustices of the J League, which is we see IIMaddinII doing what I would say is an attempt to do the right thing. They bought some thinners early on. They opened with not navigate. They opened with sacrifice. They got a lookout. They tried to thin. They added a draw card. Where they got some storytellers, and it looks like they were trying to get debt control and build an engine, which is absolutely like the right strategy. But engines are difficult, and so they, especially if you're still new to the game, they often misfire, and you make mistakes, like you play a lookout when you shouldn't, you trash it, and it doesn't come together quite well. And then we see xXLangusteXx, not even attempting to build engines. They're just like, I'm happy playing Navigator Big Money, which is it's a deck that will never be done right, but it's also hard to do it like too wrong. Like you just click navigators and click money, and then like it's never gonna backfire so badly, and so the engine will often lose to navigator money, and then people might come away from this with a mistaken impression that navigator money is ever the correct strategy, which I don't know, maybe there's some hypothetical kingdom, but it's like rounding error levels unlikely that navigator money is ever gonna be the correct play. They'll be led to believe that this like navigator is too strong. No, 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 it's not. It's all in the execution. I mean, single navigator plus treasures can't be worse than like just navigator plus. Oh, maybe it could be. I guess. You can involuntarily trigger a shuffle. Um, is triggering a shuffle worse? I think like single navigator plus treasures would beat just like only buying treasures by like a few percent. Someone could run that simulator. I'm gonna guess it's like somewhere between 55 and 60% win rate for. Maybe that's high. 50. I'm gonna say 55 to 58% win rate for. You gotta count for ties. I'm gonna say it though. The difference between its win rate and BMU's win rate is like 8%, 6%, 6%. I'm gonna say 6%. Someone run that simulation and tell me how often Navigator money beats just BMU. I guess it's a question of like, does the simulator know how to play Navigator well? But like, I don't know. Um, Yeah, like, if Navigator BMU has been optimized, I don't know who has done that. Because that's like not a thing I imagine too many people are considering. All right. Oh, let me see if I can pull it up real fast. Oh, I don't have it set up yet on this computer. Shoot. But I would have run it myself, but that would take too much time in the middle of a match to go download it. So IIMaddinII is still not out of this by any stretch. The big problem with their deck, I think, like they're trying to do something like build E, but they never added any gains. Like, Salvager seems like the card that if it didn't exist in this kingdom would most hurt the engine deck. Like, you want the ability to buy two things per turn or more than that, and the only way to do that is with Salvager. And so the fact that they've never added a Salvager is really hurting their bottom line. So without Salvager, what would you do? I feel like Taxman would still be worth it without Salvager. And then there's also Triumphage to consider, which means BMU is not going to be optimal. But yeah, removing Salvager would affect this kingdom a whole bunch. So this is awkward. Even Dini just does not have a whole lot of money in their deck. Like, they can theoretically draw a bunch of a Storyteller, but then there goes all their treasures, and now that was actually remarkably lucky, drawing a silver off the top there. But like, I think my money's on xXLangusteXx. I mean, we're talking about these farming abilities for a second. They're not doing a whole. I mean, they do sift through your green cards, which is something, but like they got these relatively early, and the only terminal action card in their entire deck is Sacrifice. So the village effect is basically going to waste. I don't know what you're talking about, Halo Andy. It seems pretty clear to me. XXL, Angus, Tex. Just a big fan of Texas Angus. I mean, XXL makes sense because everything's bigger in Texas. What's the action count for XXL? I assume they have 6 villages and 6 navigators, right? So buying either of those doesn't affect their points at all. Do you buy Duchy here then? Seems reasonable. Sacrificing the storyteller seems reasonable as well. Their villages are not really lining up with their navigators, though. That's for sure. But again, that's the drawback of navigator. It's terminal, so you draw a bunch of them and you're sad instead of happy. I think I would keep that on top. Like, if nothing else, it's a guaranteed duchy. And then it lets you pitch a bunch of the stuff coming up after it, which is probably most of the green cards, right? It's not super clear. But I think I would pitch. I think I wouldn't pitch it. And I think you gotta buy Duchy again. I think XXL's favorite if this game goes long. Because, like, I mean, both decks are junky, but IIMaddini's only got, like, a handful of treasures that they have to line up. Whereas XXL has a bunch of money in their deck. It's a little bit sad to see what IIMaddini's deck ended up like. Like, it started out looking like an attempt to build an engine where they thinned and they had to draw cards. And it has now become more or less farming village money, but with just, like, very few treasures. So if XXL draws a village here or a gold, they get province. I think that's not super unlikely, right? They got like 2 golds down there and 5 villages. So like 7 and 17 odds, I want to say, of hitting 8. Throne room. Yeah, so I mean, throne room is it's 3 points, so like it can't be worse than duchy. But it's not gonna be a whole lot better than duchy either. When your only throne room targets are like the 2 farming villages you've got in your deck. And now for IIMaddini, I don't think that there are any action cards that give you Triumphal Arch points, right? They've got 1 sack, 2 farming villages, 2 throne rooms. They bought throne room anyway. It's not worth anything. So I think that was. I want to say it's a mistake, but like I don't think that there's like a realistically very good way back in this. I think their deck is just gonna fall apart here. And like, so let's say you were angling for more Triumphal Arch points, is IIMaddini. I would think that you'd want to buy Farming Village first and then Throne Room rather than the reversed, because Farming Village at this point is a better card for your deck. Yeah, so this is mirroring game 1 in that, like, you got this situation where players, I think, are a little bit too eager to green quickly with decks that really, really can't sustain it. And so now we get this protracted phase where there's like 2 provinces sitting there, like kind of the point where we had a few colonies left in the last one, and just like nobody can afford to buy them. And so now we buy duchies to scramble to retain the points lead, and then the deck's getting worse and worse, and the odds that we hit 8 decline with each passing turn. I took a duchy. I thought, I will actually say, I think buying gold there as XXL looked reasonable. They're about to trigger a shuffle, so putting a gold in there would have helped them hit 8. And they already had the points lead, so they didn't necessarily need another duchy at that point. Actually, no, I take that back. Probably Salvager is even better than gold. I mean, I don't know what I was thinking. There's no way gold is ever the best buy. Like, in a situation like this, where you're, like, down to the wire, there's, like, 2 provinces left, the ability to just, like, liquidate your deck for money seems really useful. So, like, Salvager still seems like the best card, even in this money deck at this point. Like, you salvage a province just to lower the pile because you got a points lead, something like that would be really good. Or salvage a duchy to buy province. Lots of options. Lining up Salvager and gold is like almost certain to hit 8. Because Salvager gold is 6 money. So as IIMaddinII, I think that you got to think that the only way to win at this point is hitting both provinces, which is like not likely, but if your opponent gets one province, you're certainly lost. So I think here you're probably just like sacking the throne room. Don't even consider going for the like triumphal arch points. Won't be enough at this point to get you back in this. You just got to hope that you get province twice before they get it once. Okay, they do that. That was, I think, the right play, and I would buy the penultimate province here. Now, obviously, if they buy the last province, they win. But this is not like that last game where you're like equal to perhaps in a better situation, and buying the penultimate province is unnecessary risk. Here, I think it's just necessary because, like, if you don't get both provinces, you're lost. So here, you do buy the penultimate one. And I would pitch that, I think, as XXL. Now hitting 5 is not good enough. It's just going to come down to, again, from that situation of one province left, who gets it. IIMaddinII might sneak out a win here, actually. Like, Throne Room Farming Village is actually not super unlikely to find that last gold, because it's going to find you 2 non-victory cards. Crescent rolls are pretty good. Oh my goodness! So Farming Village money has vanquished Navigator money in the end. What a game. 2-0 for IIMaddinII as well. Seven villages and 7 navigators. The XXL only got 2 provinces that entire game. Ouch. Oh, XXL only had the 1 gold. I was thinking they were the one with 2 golds for a bit there. Alrighty, looks like we got a 2-minute intermission. Alright, we are back. What do we have here? This is an interesting kingdom. I do think that was a fast 2 minutes. You're right. What's going on here? So the first thing that jumps out is Lurker Catacombs is kind of nice. You play Lurker, you trash a Catacombs. You gain a card just for trashing it straight from the supply. So like you play your Lurker, send a Catacombs to the trash, and just like get a free thing out of it, which is kind of nifty. And then you could maybe regain the Catacombs later. There's like this is a kingdom where I would not expect the engine to win in J League. I would definitely build here, but it's tricky. You got some awkward stuff. Your only village here is Hideout, which is a mandatory trasher, which you could like feed with like Lurker Catacomb stuff just fine. And it's not trivial what you're building too, because like the only plus buy is a 1 in 12 chance that the Bard gives you Forest's Gift, and like I might play with a Bard just to like roll the dice on getting double province one turn, but like that's not amazing payload. And then the other possible engine payload is like Temple. You can rack up points by like trashing and regaining temples, which I think is enough to justify building. But yeah, this is a finicky engine. Sheepdog's also pretty nice. Lurker can activate it. You mid-turn gain stuff out of the trash with Lurker, and your Sheepdogs will draw non-terminally. So like I would definitely just be building forever here with lots of like Catacombs, Lurkers, Sheepdogs, Temples, Hideouts, and stuff. Maybe like a few Conspirators for payload. But that looks like a difficult deck to play. If I were playing money here, what does that look like? Probably some some Catacombs and like a Masterpiece or two. Was the owl in Winnie the Pooh based on Aristotle? I do not know. I mean, maybe so. But it might just be coincidence, because owls have that reputation for wisdom that might make them, incidentally be portrayed similar to Aristotle. I do not remember the Sword in the Stone, unfortunately. 5-2 looks good here. Probably want a Lurker. Actually, I'm not even sure exactly what you open, to be honest. Maybe 5-2 is not really any different than 4-3. Do you want to open Catacombs or Mine? Yeah, I think I would probably open Lurker Catacombs. Double Lurker also seems very reasonable, or Lurker Hideout. Actually, no. Hideout's worse than Temple. Lurker Temple, Lurker Catacombs, Double Lurker are the things that are coming to my mind. Shanahan's comment is also going to look even more ridiculous than it is, because I had paused the video during the intermission, so nobody heard the joke that he is now making reference to if they're watching the video. So XXL opens with a silver. I don't think I'm a big fan of the silver opening. I mean, like, often you're buying silver if you just really want to hit 5, and I mean, like, the 5s aren't bad, but like they're not like the priority, and I think I'd be wanting to get the Catacombs via Lurkers anyway, just because of that nice synergy with the one trash effect. Yeah, like certainly the optimal deck I think for this kingdom does not involve any treasures. I wouldn't touch silver or gold. Temple is a reasonable opening. Trashing is good. And for IIMaddinII, I think you're just trashing a catacombs and gaining a hideout off of it. Could gain a temple as well, but I assume that you're going to have some catacombs in your deck soon, and so hideout's probably better for your deck at this point than temple is. Yeah, so Lurker Catacombs is like a thing worth considering. I don't see the obvious third thing that you're going for with it. So, like, it's not like super strong. It's not like Lurker Hunting Grounds. But the idea being you just like buy a Lurker every turn, trash a Catacombs every turn, and then you gain some third thing off the Catacombs, like a state, for example. And then you score a decent amount of points. You get a few points off of Arena, and then the game ends like ridiculously fast. If you had like a cheap VP card in this kingdom, like, I don't know, Gardens or Tunnel or something, I could see maybe trying to go for the Lurker Catacombs rush. Hmm. Interesting that they didn't pitch that hand. I suppose it's not bad to keep it because you can like discard the Lurker for points and then buy something. But in general, I would think that you probably want to trigger this shuffle. What are these bottom 5 cards for IIMaddinII? Let's figure it out. So there's an estate down there, 3 coppers, and what's their last card? Silver. So basically that last hand is like $5 in hand and nothing else of significance. Yeah, I think I would have pitched there. So like pitching these cards instead of putting them in hand, you're passing up on 2 arena points, which is like, I don't know, not nothing. But you cause yourself to trigger a shuffle, which gets you back around to your Lurker, your Catacombs, and whatever third card you buy sooner. The issue the way the deck is configured right now is you got exactly 5 cards left. So next turn you'll draw 5 cards, and then you'll shuffle your entire deck back into the discard and draw like a brand new clean deck at the end of next turn. Whereas if you discarded 3 with Catacombs and drawn 3, there are only 2 cards left in your deck. So that part where you shuffle your deck again happens a turn earlier, which gets you back around to the Catacombs and the Lurker sooner. Well, I mean, I want to criticize the gold buy because, like, obviously buying gold is certainly not the optimal play here. But again, like, I think if you're playing for the J League, I don't think that the engine is likely to come together in this division. And so just playing like Catacombs money or something seems reasonable. You know your limits. Catacombs now, I presume. That temple did not seem very appealing. Like it, you don't need 2 temples to trash. I assume that was just like a, oh my goodness, there's like 2 whole points on the pile. I better get it with urgency or my opponent will take it. But like at that point, temple is functionally just like a 2-point victory card. And you don't need to be buying 2-point victory cards on turn 5. Like, you wouldn't be like, oh, shoot, I got 5 money, better buy a duchy. And that temple is worse than a duchy. Something psychological about those points being on the pile where you're like, I better nab them or I won't have the opportunity later. Guide, that's fine. No, Temple's a fine card. As I say, Broken Clock is right twice a day. One second. I can see what my dog's about. What is it? As is usual, there was literally nothing there. But she won't stop barking unless I let her outside to check. Alright, let's see. It appears not a whole lot has happened since I last departed. What else is left in those cards? Those bottom 5 is largely junk, right? Isn't this next hand like terrible? I'm pretty sure the next hand, isn't it like 2 estates and 3 coppers? I think you had to pitch here to avoid next turn being a dud as IIMaddinII. Oh, they have a hideout. Oh, did they also forget to discard Farina points? I didn't notice. Oh, you're referring to Halo Andy when you said that. Anyways, I don't like the province. The province seems too early, as usual. Like, you've got, what, like 10 money in your entire deck? You're not going to be hitting province reliably. I would have thought that probably the best buy there was just, like, a big masterpiece. Just throw, like, 5 silvers in the deck or something. Yeah, certainly pitch that. Yeah, so it looks like we're coming around to just playing Catacombs Money, but with some extra steps. I think the conspirators in XXL's deck look pretty bad. Uh, like in a more engine-y deck, conspirator certainly seems like a better payload than silver and gold. But like I don't think they have the action density to be very likely to activate conspirator at all. So it's just like again a terminal silver rather than like a silver um, that they aren't even playing most of the time. Yeah, I think on average the J Leaguers finish a lot faster than usual. Um, I have seen some long J League matches. There's variance there. What do you do here is IIMaddinII? I'm not sure. I think probably to discard this hideout for arena points. Is that a cat in the background? It is not a cat. It is a dog. Cats don't bark. So they played the hideout, managed to draw a copper and trashed it, which, I mean, it works out okay. But, like, you had no way of knowing that copper was on top. They could have drawn Catacombs or Province or something, and they would have had to trash a more useful card. Oh, I never gave you the answer to the joke. What do Winnie the Pooh and Alexander the Great have in common? It's their middle name. What was Halo Andy's answer? Yeah. I think I missed Halo Andy answering. Although I did like my answer to the joke, which is that they were both leaders of their era's respective Eurasian hegemons. Oh, are you one of those folks who think that like the CCP is mostly beholden to the military? Um, I guess I really couldn't contest the the details of Chinese politics that I'm premising my joke on. I said Eurasian hegemony. So hegemony is the concept of being a hegemon. Hegemon is the nation that is in control and therefore has hegemony. Both are terms. Is that not what spec chat always is? No, I'm confident on this one. Hegemon is definitely like a valid English word that refers to the country. Um, there's no requirement to phrase it as hegemony. Well, the plural of hegemon is hegemons. Hegemony isn't like the plural; it's just a different thing. It's like the difference between like leader and leadership, right? Like I'm a leader, I exhibit leadership. The plural of leader isn't leadership. Wait, so metonymy is like when you use like the White House as a stand-in for like the government itself, or like Capitol Hill. Like Capitol Hill passed a new law. I'm not following how that applies here. What's the metonym for what? Yeah, I'll take hegemony as a valid pluralization of hegemon. I don't think there's any metonymy going on in this. There's a Dominion game going on. Maybe I should say something about it. I feel like they're a little bit like too half in, half out of building. Like you got conspirators, which are like kind of engine-y, but then they're also getting golds, which mean your deck's like not gonna activate those conspirators reliably. Um, like this hand for from XXL, for example, like this conspirator's doing nothing there because it's not being drawn with any other non-terminal action cards. It does look over based on the score that XXL is about to win one. Um, wait, what? They pitched a hand that did hit 8 to draw junk. After all the times I've been saying like, oh yeah, you gotta pitch, uh, they finally decided to discard the cards the one time that it looked like a bad idea. And then yeah, look at these conspirators being useless again. Conspirator is a good card. Like it is good payload for an engine. If you can play it and get the effect of +1 card +1 action, then it's great. It's like a cheap grand market. The problem is it's finicky to activate, and so you got to make sure you've got a pretty reliable deck already that you put the conspirators into at the end. Otherwise, they're just doing this useless thing. Donate on the. I like donate. Um, I mean, in defense, I suppose, of keeping on the dislike list, most of the dislikable cards in Dominion are like cards rather than landscapes, and so I find it much easier to like liberally use the landscape bans on things that I mildly dislike because there aren't like major dislikes that it's trading off with. But I'm pretty sure everything I have disliked or banned in the landscape section is landmarks, because landmarks are just way less good than events, projects, or ways. Yeah, learning to donate better is good. Plug for effective altruism. I feel like that's more of a backhanded insult to yourself, DZ. Just like, I used to have bad taste in people. All right, we're taking more conspirators that I strongly suspect we can't play. Trash the copper, delay conspirator until next turn. Maybe they were contemplating trashing the conspirator, which honestly would not be bad. But I like the idea of delaying it. Oh, nice. I think they found the best play here. Well, minus the part where they gained a conspirator with their lurker. So this conspirator actually will activate. They'll have a conspirator played, then they can play their lurker, then they can play the conspirator, and they don't even need to play the hideout to activate it. I'm pretty sure as IIMaddinII, I would just resign here. I don't think that you're bridging this massive points deficit with a deck that isn't even clearly better. I don't know what this last card from XXL is, but if it's anything that gives money, they will hit Provincier. And that, I think, basically seals the deal. IIMaddinII needs to get like all 3 provinces to have a shot at this. So both of them keep playing hideouts in scenarios where they have like no junk in their hand, and keep getting lucky and drawing a copper. Or actually, I would trash the lurker here. Looks better. Yeah, because that gets you to 8. And then don't play this temple. Just buy province. Yeah. So with 6 money, they could afford resignation. That looks pretty appealing. For XXL, I think, again, probably just like trash temple with temple, delay lurker till next turn is, I think, what I would do. You've got a bunch of conspirators in your deck that aren't reliably activating. So even like that, it's not like playing the lurker is super important for gaining anything, but it helps activate those conspirators. And then probably you gain a temple off of it, just because that'll be like 2 points at that point, which at this point in the game is worth it. But the main reason I would want to delay the lurker is just to activate any conspirators in the next hand. Or to help activate at least. You still have to find one other action card before you can play the conspirators non-terminally. Now, so they play the lurker instead. And then, I don't know what you buy. Silver, guide. Sheepdog, perhaps. I mean, Sheepdog would be great with more deck control. Here, it's probably only useful if you can find it with a lurker. Alright, so IIMaddinII hits 8. Not IIMaddinII. XXL hits 8. And, or IIMaddinII did 2. As it turns out, that was also correct. That's not what I meant to say. I meant to say XXL hits 8, and that will clinch the game. Alright, 2-1 IIMaddinII, but xXLangus is coming back. Going into game 4. Alright, what do we got with this kingdom? Alright, so they had rolled some relatively weak kingdoms for the most part. Now this one's strong. Still no real plus buy. They've not rolled kingdoms with a good plus buy, but this one has ways around that seem okay. So you got abundant trashing between remake and raise. You got plenty of draw with Lost City, Rabble, Paddock, which gives horses. And Hunting Party, and Pathfinding is also draw. So lots of draw. Actions, Lost City, Mountain Village are both. Oh, mode is also draw, I guess. And then Paddock might eventually become a village. Now, the limitation here again is plus buy. So option A, you could play with Marauder. Marauder is not strong at all. In fact, it's otherwise terrible here. Marauder with good trashing is just like useless. But what Marauder would let you do is just like fish through the ruins pile until you find Ruined Market, and then buy the Ruined Market. And then the nice thing about the Marauder is it gives you first crack at it, right? So like you play the Marauder, you give a ruin to your opponent, and then you notice, oh, the top card of the ruins pile is now Ruined Market. You can be the one to buy it because it'll be your buy phase now. So like I certainly wouldn't open Marauder, but like. Maybe once your engine gets running, you could take a Marauder and start fishing through the deck for Ruined Market. I think that's probably worth doing at some point here. Because that'll let you double province. The second thing you can do is remake can be gains in conjunction with something that gives you any card, really. So like Paddock can give you horses, which cost 3. And then you can remake those up into cards that you actually want. So like, you know, if you want to gain more Mountain Villages or gain a Marauder, like I was discussing earlier, to fish for Ruined Market, you could just like play Paddock, gain a horse, remake it into the 4. If you want the 5s, well, you do that twice, right? Like remake the horses into 2 more 4 costs, then remake those into 5 costs. And so it's not going to be too hard to get as many 4s and 5s as you want. Or, you know, conceivably, if for some reason you wanted golds, you could gain a gold like that. And so like you could score a province plus a bunch of duchies on your turn. But the only way to get multiple provinces per turn is by getting that Ruined Market. So anyways, for the opening, I would think you open probably remake Raise. Seems good. Just get really thin real fast and throw like a Paddock in there. I want remake anyway, because eventually it'll be the gainer. But, you know, remake here is also a thinner, which is usually its main function. You know, remake's very good at thinning cards. They keep getting delay in kingdoms where it's like not very good. What delay is really good at is turning plus buy into plus action. It's functionally what it does, right? Like you spend a buy to set a card aside so you can play it next turn, is saving you the action of having to play that card normally. So like delay is really good in Kingdoms with abundant plus buy but weak plus action. Here we've got tons of actions, Lost City, Mountain Village, and so forth, but incredibly limited buy. So the delay is actually kind of bad. I mean, the only option on 4 is remake. That seems very clear. And XXL knows that. Here, as I was assuming, they just had really bad games. On 5-2, it's less. I think on 5-2, I would open Paddock Raise. I mean, Remake Raise is still reasonable on 5-2, but I think I would take the Paddock one on 5-2 given the option. Raise is still not bad trashing that you could delay the remake, and Paddock's a strong card. Hunting Party Raise is okay. That could lead to some potential high rolls. If you hit 4 turn 3 and then see the Hunting Party turn 4, maybe you can draw and play a remake turn 4, which might be nice. They're thinking about it. Well, I think let's examine the card art. So we got remake. I don't like remake's art very much. It's kind of bland. It's not going on. What's going on there? It's like a lumberyard or something. I'm gonna give remake a 3 out of 10. We'll come back to this. They've made a move. Yeah, Trash Copper Estate, gain care of Vanguard by raise. Seems clear enough. I think they'll find that. Moat. Don't like the moat so much. I mean, it's draw and all, but it's terminal. You got 2 terminals in your deck now. They're remaking the moat and no villages yet. So I'm gonna say moat seems worse than raise to me. Well, now you gotta buy Mountain Village, surely, because you've got 2 terminals. Mountain Village seems pretty clear. All right, back to looking at card art. Hunting Party. It's not so bad. It's a chubby looking horse. 5 out of 10. They did get the Mountain Village, which is good. Lost City. I really like the art of Lost City. It's cool. It's got a mystique to it. It does symbolize the card name very well, and I feel like it's got like the kind of dominion-y feel. I'm going to give Lost City like a 9.5 out of 10. All right, let's return to the game. This is a really good starting hand for XXL. Just 3 more Caravan Guards, I guess. Why did Madden not trash and buy Mountain Village? Let me go back and look at their hand. Oh, so their hand was 4 coppers and a raise. You're asking why not trash a copper and buy something other than Mountain Village, you mean? Or am I missing something here? Oh, it was the way your question. It sounded like, why did Madden not trash and buy Mountain Village? And they didn't buy Mountain Village. I think what you mean is, why did they not trash, and then why did they buy Mountain Village? And it didn't quite register. Well, what's in their deck? They've only got the 1 terminal right now, right? So at the moment, yeah, IIMaddinII's only got just the Paddocks. And Mountain Village probably isn't the most important card to add. Rather trash a copper. 10 out of 10 card art. I answered this somewhere on the Discord last time someone asked. I looked at like all the cards and like picked my favorite. Well, it makes sense that like very few cards are gonna get like a pure 10 out of 10. That means you're at like the 100th percentile. Like I'm not grading in like a grading system where like everyone gets a 70 or above. I'm using the full scale. Paddock and Horse are nice. Like excellent quality art. I especially like the background, like towards the top of the Paddock art. Looks really good. I also don't get a very like medieval theme from them at all. Like this looks like it could just be a modern horse farm. So I'm gonna say Paddock is like an 8 out of 10. I like Werewolf and Vampire. They're clever. Like normally for me, it's kind of important that the card art like effectively symbolize the name. I think that's one of the important criteria. Is like, is this representing the card well? And like you don't look at Werewolf or Vampire and immediately think like Werewolf or Vampire. Like you probably wouldn't guess the name correctly just looking at them. But in that particular case, it's just kind of like a nifty take on the Werewolf and Vampire. Like, oh, they're subtly in their human forms, and you don't notice that it's actually a werewolf or vampire all along. So yeah, I'm a big fan of both the Werewolf and Vampire arts. Pathfinding now, probably. Not sure what you put it on. So on the one hand, they've got a ton of Caravan Guards. So maybe, oh, definitely, ew, no, Province, stop, don't do that. So Pathfinding is like an awkward choice. On the one hand, Caravan Guard is like the most numerous card in your deck, and your natural inclination is to put Pathfinding on the card that you have the most copies of, so you get the most draw out of it. On the other hand, these little card token things are awkward with duration cards, because you only get the effect when you play the card, and you only play Caravan Guard every other turn, because you play it once and then it's out of turn for next turn. So you're not like getting +1 card at the start of your next turn. You're only getting it when you initially put the Caravan Guard into play. And so putting plus card on Caravan Guard is actually only like half as useful as putting on other cards, because the Caravan Guard is only in your deck to be played and get +1 card half as often. I think I probably still would have done that, just because like you got so gosh darn many Caravan Guards that in the short term that's giving the most draw, even discounting by half. And then in the long term, you're probably gonna have like plenty of Paddocks and stuff anyway. I hate these provinces with a passion. It is not time to green yet. It's a big engine deck. I mean, I don't think they're going to build the big engine with the remake gains, but surely it is correct. I know what Shad is talking about, DZ. So, for context, Pathfinding's initial art was like formatted incorrectly, and there was like a black bar of just like missing art. I think on the right hand side, maybe left hand side. One of the sides. There's like the art like wasn't like formatted to fit the card properly. There's like empty black space, and they had to issue like a reprinting of the card that had like the art fixed and stuff like that. But there's a while where, like the first printing of Pathfinding had just had like an ugly black bar on one side or the other. Yeah, so I expect what's going to happen here is neither is going to build. And that'll be wrong. Can we take a second to appreciate that my $5 cards supply my $3 with the horses that can be seen in the $3 art cards artwork? One second to process that. Oh, supply my the caravan. I think what they're suggesting is, like the caravan guard art has horses, and the paddock is giving you horses, and that gives the caravan guard horses to work with. I think that would work better for me if in some way the caravan guard were utilizing the horses. Like if Remake had horses in it, I think I would be more on board with this analogy, because like remaking horses, it makes sense. Like you're giving horses to the remake to feed it. But I think Caravan Guard and the horse are rather orthogonal in function. It's also possible I'm misinterpreting what they mean. Did I ever give a number to Paddock? I think I said 8 out of 10 for Paddock and Horse. Or Paddock's a little bit better than Horse. I really like the background of Paddock particularly much. I'll give Paddock an 8.5. Rabble. Rabble's just stupid. I'm sorry. I know these images and the faces in Rabble are the common subject of memes and all, but like they're not good. Look at this thing in the bottom left. That's not a human. Rabble's like a 3 out of 10. Ruined Village. I like Ruined Village. It's a... We don't have Walled Village in the Kingdom to compare it to, but it's like Walled Village, but like bad. I'm gonna give Ruined Village like a 9 out of 10. It does what it's supposed to do. It's got a nice little reference embedded to other art. I'm a fan. I know they're gonna buy Province again. At this point, buying Province isn't even wrong. Like you're already committed to greening. No stopping you now. It's too late to go back and fix your deck. I don't know what H. John Benjamin looks like, so there's multiple bearded guys in Rabble. I count at least 3 beards. Pathfinding Caravan Guard, I was just discussing this a second ago, actually seemed like the correct play, like 4 or 5 turns back whenever they bought their first province. Just because, like, if you look at the composition of their deck, they actually have, like, 1,000,001 Caravan Guards. And not many of other actions. And so, even if you just, like, discounted by half, Caravan Guard was still the most numerous card in their deck. I think the mistake was buying provinces before buying Pathfinding and then not going to build. So we passed out trashing a free copper there, which seemed a little weird to me. They have some interesting choices for the pathfinding. The Caravan Guard one actually did make sense in context. Paddock does feel like a weird card to put plus card on, but yeah, I'm not sure about that one. This is a J-League match. We are on the fourth game. It is 2-1 in IIMaddinII's favor. But XXL is about to equalize. Okay, so here the correct play order is going to be play 2 Paddocks first, and then play... I think they're going to do it. Then play your Mountain Village. Oh, that doesn't actually work. Never mind. Huh, that's awkward. Mountain Village is like the one village for which this doesn't work well. Would you waste a horse to top deck a horse? Probably not. It doesn't matter anyway. They had 8. I don't know. I was going off on some tangent that was relevant. I was focused on top decking horses and didn't even notice there was one province in the pile. All right. So 2-all. That was substantially faster in turn count than the other 3 games. I think they're averaging like 21 turns or something for the previous ones. This kingdom looks awkward. Mostly because there's no plus action whatsoever. You add a village to this kingdom and it just becomes like infinitely stronger. So we got weak trashers with remodel and taxman and mine. Governor as well is like a strong card but not good at thinning your deck. And the good draw cards here are Terminal. You got Journeyman, Council Room, Cavalry. Would be good draw cards, except that because there's no villages, anything you draw with those cards, you're just drawing dead. This would actually be a great kingdom for delay, like the delay that was in the last 2 kingdoms. This would be the kingdom for it, where there's no action otherwise, but you got like Council Room, which is a plus buy card, so you like play Council Room and then delay something. Would be like a reasonable thing to do. So I think the only card here that looks particularly significant to me is Governor. I think you just want a lot of governors. You probably want to put training on the governors because you're going to have a lot of governors, and then let Governor do its thing where it gains gold and remodels them into provinces. Then if you're playing mostly with governors, then there's this question of like, well, you do have terminal space for like a terminal action card. Which one do you play with? I was thinking it would be like a singular cavalry, just because cavalry is so nice to gain. I could see remodel as well, though. Like, obviously, the whole shtick of governor is gaining golds and remodeling them into provinces. You add a remodel, it saves you 1 governor play doing that. Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. Like, maybe you could open remodel even, turn a state into cavalry, and then if they play governor, you like turn your cavalry into governor at a later date. So I don't know. Remodel Silver seems like a fine opening. Silver Expedition seems like a fine opening. Probably those 2 are the 2 I would consider. Maybe on 4-3 you could open Remodel Expedition. Just combine the 2. Taxman showed up earlier, and neither of them seemed to like it. They both skipped the Taxman. And that was in a kingdom where Taxman actually looked kind of good. So I'm going to guess we don't see Taxman here. I don't know which card we will see. Could be Bard. We did see Navigator money earlier, as well as Conspirator money. So I think they do like playing with terminal silvers a lot. Bard seems like it might be on the table. I would not buy turn 1 Expedition, I don't think. It gets you to 5, but like in an awkward way. So one of them has the 4-3, the other one has the 3-4. I think I prefer the 4-3. Expedition on turn 2 sounds pretty nice to me. But if you don't open Expedition, then they're basically equivalent. So many choices. That's true. I guess Cavalry and Noble Brigand technically both make those not equivalent options. I mean, you shouldn't open with those, but like you could. Silver Cavalry does not sound very good to me, I don't think. Like, what do you hope? Like, I guess the ideal scenario is like you draw your cavalry and play it for horses and then hit 5 turn 3. Like, that'd be really good. But I think most other draws seem bad. Turn 1 Noble Brigand. Don't like it. Noble Brigand is a very bad card. It'll be funny if it hit their silver, but it's not worth putting a Noble Brigand in your deck. Is Noble Brigand the worst terminal here? Now, Harvest has still got to be worst. I mean, it's Harvest. I don't know. I don't know that I'd say mine is worse than Noble Brigand. I don't think I would say it's better than Taxman either. I don't know. Noble Brigand is not good. Oh, well, RTT was vindicated after all. We do see the Taxman opening. This is not the kingdom where they're supposed to do that. 5 is just governor in a heartbeat. Yeah, there we go. Five governor. Just how things work. You hit 5, you buy governor. Them's the rules. Don't you be thinking about any other cards. I don't know what card that's not governor they're thinking might also be worth buying. Whatever it is, they're wrong about it. Okay, there we go. That was a nice Taxman attack. Turning your opponent's $5 hand into 4 does hurt a lot. Because, like, the only card I really want to click on a bunch is Governor in this particular game. Noble Brigand's wording. Yeah, Noble Brigand's wording is unfortunate. That's true. So if you turn your coppers into silvers, and then they take your silvers out of your deck with Noble Brigand, you've technically thinned coppers. Nice teamwork to get one deck thin. Yeah, Harvest has to be the worst 5. I think that's pretty clear. So Noble Brigand used to repeat all this text twice, where it'd be like, when you buy this, each other player tries to tap 2 cards, blah 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 blah, and that just made the card incredibly wordy. So to make it more concise, they replaced it with when you buy. Oh, so am I just wrong about that? Wait, why'd they change it then? I thought it was a wordiness issue. Well, DZ will have to correct me because apparently I'm misunderstanding the Noble Brigand history. The bottom line thing that when you buy this, do its attack was only a very recently added change to the card, like in the past year or two, to fix something or other that apparently I was mistaken on, and it fixes it at the cost of just like kind of sounding awkward. Do its attack feels very informal and not like a thing you'd expect to see on a card. So it's not clear to me like what the correct distribution of like governor plays is, like to what degree you're using it for draws versus gold gains versus remodeling. I would say you probably don't want to use the governor remodel effect until like late in the game when you turn in golds into provinces here, because the thinning here is otherwise like close to non-existent, and so letting your opponent trash a copper or an estate is just like a humongous downside. And so I don't think I want to use governor remodel, not because it's not the best for your deck, but because it's the best for your opponent's deck. And then the other options are draw versus gold gain. The temptation is to just always draw with governor, but this is one of those kingdoms where I think that might be a mistake, just because the kingdom's really weak. You don't necessarily need to get deck control, so trying to draw all the way into your deck might be a mistake, and it draws your opponent a ton of cards too. I think probably you draw with governor if you don't have 5 yet, so you can afford governor, and then otherwise are probably largely gaining golds with it early on. Yeah, Harvest is awful in so many ways. It's just like incredibly bad. It gives money unreliably, sometimes 4, sometimes 1 or 2, often 3, but like +3 coins on a card is like not a very strong effect, not something worthy of 5. Like you look at a card like Sacred Grove that does that and gives plus buy and is still pretty darn weak. So its effect is at best pretty weak. But then the big problem with it is you can't play it at the end of your turn. Like if you do the normal thing where you draw your deck, you play your draw cards and your villages early, then you get to the end of your deck and all right, now I play my action cards at the end of that. Well, there's no cards in your discard pile anymore, so it just gives 0 money. And so you don't necessarily want it in a money deck because you got terminals and you don't have enough villages to play them. And you can't put it in an engine deck because if your engine draws a deck, all of a sudden all your harvests become worth 0. You could try to play it like early in the turn in the engine deck while there's still stuff in your discard, but now you've built a deck that's like really difficult and awkward to play because you got to be wasting terminal space on your harvests before drawing deck, which means that you need like extra villages that could have been going to like playing smithies or whatever. It's just incredibly bad. I think Harvest is like clearly the worst card outside of Alchemy. Yeah, this is not like the fun type of governor board. This is just like sad governor board. So I think the options here are buy governor or buy training and put it on governor. Either seems okay. Gold was not one of the options. Bad. Don't. You passed up a card that gives you unlimited golds to buy a single gold. Mm-mm. Add like even a weak village in this kingdom gets like really interesting. Then you can play with a whole lot more cards. You throw a village in here, just like vanilla village, and I think you're using like probably some number of council room, maybe journeyman, cavalry, remodel, taxman. A lot of those cards start to become playable. Yeah, that's true. Vanilla village is not actually all that weak. It's a pretty reasonable village. Um, Shantytown then. Non-terminal draw would also make this not bad, like lab or stables or something. And then throw in like a decent trasher, and you'd have a real deck. So here I think as IIMaddinII, you remodel the silver into governor and then redraw it. I don't recall what these bottom two cards are though, so I'm not totally sure. They've trashed 2 coppers, so I think it's a taxman and a copper on bottom. That's a little bit awkward actually, because I mean you want to hit 5, and so if you remodel silver into governor, then draw it, then play taxman, you're not hitting 5 anymore. I'm not sure what the best order is here. Okay, this gets you 3 governors, right? Draw here, remodel silver into governor, remodel taxman into governor by governor. That's a lot of governors. RTT says gain 2 golds and train. I think it's reasonable. Oh, I don't like this whole turn a state into remodel and then just to turn it into gold again. Like you're letting your opponent trash 2 cards. Yeah, Shanahan's also got a good point. If you were just going to turn the estate into some random card that costs 4 for purposes of then turning into gold, why not make that random card a cavalry so you at least get +2 draw for free and +1 buy? Like 0 downside. How is the governor split 5-1? I suspect these noble brigands might have something to do with that. I was thinking, so they're probably gonna train governors. This is fine. I was gonna say turn the silver into gold and then buy governor. That has the advantage of now you have 1 gold in your deck instead of 2 silvers in your deck, which reduces the number of targets for their noble brigand. But this line is also fine because it lets you buy training, which is probably a little bit better than buying governor at this point when you've got 5 governors in your deck. XXL could they could take 2 governors here if they wanted to. Also, returning to the previous turn, XXL had Noble Brigands in their hand in that last turn, and their opponent remodeled the governor twice. I would have in a heartbeat turned the Noble Brigands into governors. I think that's better than turning a state into silver. Like the difference in power between Noble Brigand and governor is immense. Well, clearly you bought the Noble Brigand to do its attack, and then once you've done its attack, you can trash it again. Alright, so I think it's time for IIMaddinII to start scoring. Do you just take 3 golds and buy province here? I kind of don't want to trigger this shuffle because there's a ton of junk down there. Well, so now I think we have to draw again, right? Because we just top decked a ton of junk, and now we've drawn our opponent a card. Yeah, I like the idea of trashing a state to gain cavalry because it gives plus buy, and you now have immensely more money than you could possibly need. This is the J20 division of League, Shakalaki. The top 2 players in that division are duking it out. And I believe it is 2-2 at the moment. There are many J Leagues. Yeah, I really like this estate into cavalry line. That actually lets you buy 2 provinces outright, which sounds great. And you get a free taxman attack in, I think. For context, just to explain it. So cavalry normally I wouldn't think of as a plus buy card so much as just like buy neutral. Like if I've got 8 money and only 1 buy, I could buy cavalry, I get my buy back, and then buy 1 other card. So like cavalry is not really increasing my buys so much as like I don't waste a buy buying it normally. Or if I had like 20 money, maybe it's a good example. If I had 20 money and I bought a cavalry, I don't get to buy 2 provinces after that. I spent a buy on cavalry, I got to buy back. I can still only buy 1 province, but I can buy as many cavalries as I want and then 1 other card. But if you gain cavalry rather than buying it, for example, via like Governor's Remodel Effect or Remodel's Remodel Effect, you didn't spend a buy on it, but you get +1 buy anyway. And so that's actually just increasing the number of buys you have. So like you remodel a state into cavalry, you get +1 buy. Now you do have 2 buys and can actually buy 2 provinces. Just province here, I think. I guess you could consider cavalry in the province if you wanted to. I don't know what's down there. Did we kill our taxman or something? Oh, we did kill it. I thought that was a taxman down there. I missed it. We just killed it. Uh-oh. Noble Brigand has nabbed a gold. So can IIMaddinII win this turn? I'm not sure how many golds they have left. They did just lose 1. Let's see. I'm not sure they have any golds left, actually. mean, they're coming dangerously close to letting their opponent win. As it happens, XXL doesn't have any governors in their hand, but like if they had a governor in hand, they would be able to double province. I don't know what you can do safely here as IIMaddini. Remodeling is really dangerous. Like if IIMaddini uses the governor remodel, and I'm XXL, I'm turning a silver into a cavalry for the 2 free draw. I'm hoping to find a governor. Yeah, silver into cavalry here for sure. You find governor, and I think you're just 1. I also don't think more governors is what they need at this point. I think that actually probably should have just been a duchy. And as IIMaddini, I also think you buy a cavalry here. I'm pretty sure that discard is just a bunch of good cards. And you also have no terminals in your deck. So like cavalry itself is not even a bad card. Alright, so XXL has trashed to silver. Yeah, there we go. Oh yeah. They found the winning line and they drew the governor. I think IIMaddini has just lost this game. Despite having like all of the governors. Yeah, this is the win. There were some misplays in the end there. The player who's got what 6 of the 8 governors should not have lost this. I guess it goes to show you got to lose the governor split to win the game. This is just a trivial win. I don't think XXL is going to miss this. They could be thinking maybe they're just taking time to shit talk and chat. I believe that these 2 players are currently like in a voice chat with each other. Governor is a tricky card, that's for sure. But this goes back to something I said at the very beginning, which is like there's this temptation to want to always draw with governor, which like in a lot of contexts is right. But in these like mono governor, nothing else going on kingdoms, that can often be a mistake because you spend all yours on draw, then they just spend theirs on like remodels and golds, and you drew their deck for them, and they just like remodel and gold and profit off of your drawing. And I think IIMaddini did that maybe a little bit too much. Also, they had some questionable remodels earlier on as well. All right. So XXL Angus has come back from a 0-2 deficit to now a 3-2 lead. Hey, I'm not sure, DZ. Governor does seem tricky. I guess there's also like it feels like governor games have like a lot of randomness to them as well. I don't know if that's correct or not, but like I do get that impression sometimes. Where like you're encouraged to green very fast, and then it can just be sort of a question of whether the cards happen to line up quickly. It's hard for governor games to result in like coming back from behind, which is what you'd often be able to do to eke out like a win from an early game poor shuffle. All right, the final game. Oh boy, look at those landmarks. So what do we got here? We got Navigator again. We'll see if we learned our lesson from the last time. We have Wall, which, as came up earlier in chat, despite this landmark not having been on the board, Wall is miserable. It just really punishes you for really anything. So I think Forge looks super necessary. You gotta get thin just because Wall is going to cost you a bunch. Bandit Fort might be what they need. Bandit Fort kind of encourages you not to touch silvers and golds too much, which is just like good general advice. So maybe that steers them in the right direction. The village situation is awkward. Nobles as a village, I mean, it is a village, but it's like a terrible village. $6 for what is basically an acropolis is like incredibly weak. Which is a shame because Inventor is otherwise a very strong card, but it's terminal intensive. You want to play like a big stack of them, because they get progressively better the more you play. But you have to have a lot of abilities to play them all, and so Inventor is less good here than it could be. Hunting Party is great as usual. Hunting Party is basically like Laboratory but better, because it's +1 card, +1 action, and then functionally all that text below it is just like +1 more card. But it's a long-winded way to say, like, draw a good card, basically. Because it draws you a card that's not already in your hand, which means, like, if your hand's already full of good cards, it'll draw you a bad card. But, like, if your hand's full of good cards anyway, that's fine. What it does really good is your hand doesn't already have a bunch of good cards in it. It goes and finds you a good card, because if your hand's got all the bad cards in it, it'll skip over the bad cards. And so Hunting Party is like a laboratory that's better at searching through your deck to find the cards that you need. So I think that you're taking a bunch of hunting parties, taking a forge, trashing a ton. That all seems necessary. And then there's Tournament. I hate Tournament. Tournament's not a fun card, but it's here. Tournament seems significant. You probably want to get Province early-ish, because these prizes look not bad here. Trusty Seed is the only good village in the kingdom. Usually to play for +2 cards, plus that 2 action, and that's just like a lost city. I'm not sure how much Followers attack hurts, but I mean, like, Followers is always pretty strong. You might be worth getting here. Yeah, this kingdom is a little bit bleh. Guardian Gold. I was thinking just Hunting Party nothing. Yeah, Butcher, this is J20 League, the final game. 3-2 in favor of xXLangusteXx at the moment. Yeah, someone needs to put out the Game 6 alert. We've reached the final game of the league match. Oh, RTT is a fortune teller. It's happening. It's gonna happen. They're gonna open gold. Oh, that's true. I know like newer players love gold, but they love nobles too. Maybe they'll be enticed by the 2 early victory points. On 4-3, I think just tournament silver. I mean, Inventor silver is also reasonable. You can gain tournaments, which is probably not a bad card here. Ah, shouldn't have balked. No. In J League, the love for gold is unwavering. Yeah, I think ideally just tournament silver and then click hunting parties on 5 and tournaments on 4 until you get to 7. Then buy a forge and go from there. I think that's my planning. Certainly don't want potion. A Apothecary is bad here just because you really want to trash all your coppers, so it'll be useless eventually. Inventor is the only other thing you might be thinking about. Oh, so like take an apothecary just for the initial forged trash and then do away with it later. I can see that, I suppose. They're thinking hard. Thinking real hard. Well, I think that means it's card art time. Tournaments art. Oh, and the moment I say that, they'd make a decision. All right, tournament. That's a good decision, at least. Please no. Hunting party. Seems great. Hunting party will let you find your gold more often and play it. Hunting party. Hunting party. Hunting party. Dog agrees. No. Nobles is fine. It's certainly better than gold. And it's probably going to get you to 7. Hunting party. I think they'll buy hunting party here. No, hunting party. Don't buy charm. It won't be charm. Hunting party. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I presume this is just tournament. xXLangusteXx is actually the one who played Navigator Money in game 2. Actually, I screen capped that one. Their final deck state was 7 villages, 7 navigators, 7 coppers, a silver, a gold, and then green cards. All right. But they learned from their loss in that game, and they bought tournament, the much stronger 4. All right, we bought one hunting party. We're going to buy another hunting party. Ah, there we go. There we go. And XXL is going to learn from IIMaddinII lead, and they're going to copy the hunting party of their own, right? Remember, having 6 doesn't mean you have to buy the 6 cards. You can buy the $5 cards if you want to. Sometimes they're stronger. Nope. All right. We've been buying hunting parties so far, and it's been working well for us, so we're going to keep doing it. No, we're not. All right. We get 5. Now we're going to get a hunting party. No. Oh. Oh. Oh no. Like the problem is like as far as hitting 7 what? I guess there's tournament, but oh my. They didn't think twice before buying that province. They're like, damn, yeah, I hit 8. Better buy province. Oh. Anyway, like the problem with like buying like charm and gold and stuff is like as far as spiking $7 once to get the forge, yeah, the forge here would be phenomenal. And it's like as far as spiking 7 to get the forge, like the gold or the charm might get you there, but then once you've got a charm or once you got the forge in your deck, you want to have a big hand where you draw the forge and a bunch of other cards, and the gold's not helping you do that. If anything, it's hurting you do that. Because you draw the forge, and then one of the cards you might draw with is the gold. Now you're forging a few cards you otherwise would have been able to. Whereas the hunting party, not only does it get you to 7, it's then going to draw you the forge and draw you a bunch of other junk cards with it, and you're going to have a big forge trash after that. Same dynamic with tournament and province, right? Like you do probably want to hit 8 earlier than usual in tournament games to get a province to get those prizes. But like if you hit 8 by buying golds, now you've got a deck that's full of gold, and you have trouble lining up the tournament province. Whereas if you hit 8 by buying hunting parties, well, then you're probably going to line up the tournament hunting. Words are hard. You're going to line up the tournament province the very next turn. All right, so we just want more golds. So now we take, I guess, a forge. Nope. I mean, like, on top of the general benefit of thinning, forge is just, like, an absurd amount of victory points here, because trashing cards, it's like, scores you 1 point each. Blocked. Well, forge lets you thin your deck, so your provinces are a larger proportion of your deck, and you're more likely to block the tournament that way. Hunting party. There we go. Yeah. IIMaddinII knows what the best 5 is. Not what the best 7 is, but what the best 5 is. We got that part down. Ooh, about to get blocked. They still get the prize, though. Which one's the best here? I'm kind of ambivalent between Trusty Steed and Followers. Probably Followers just seems better. Your opponent's got their Guardian in play this turn, right? Yeah, they do. So you know they're not... No, it's tough. Like, if you take Followers knowing that it's going to get top-decked, you know your opponent can just buy a Guardian and block it. But on the same token, you know, buying Guardian is, like, not what they want to be doing with their turn. I sure hope they don't take back goals. Oh. Princess. Interesting. I think Princess seems... It's not amazing. Like, I expect they're mostly buying 1 card per turn, in which case Princess is just like a terminal silver, which is not great. But it could get you like 2 hunting parties in a turn, and if it does that, it's pretty nice. I don't know what you buy here. A second tournament's probably better than nothing. I think I take a second tournament. Yeah. Oh wow, this princess! Look how much work this princess is doing. Oof. Yeah, just buy nothing here. 2 free guardians, in fact, you could buy. Definitely pass this turn. Oh yeah, there we go. Good job, IIMaddinII. Yeah, they do. It's like that classic gamer name from like the whole like X or I, the front and the back is like that's at least what 20 years old as a name style. Yeah, so I think the any hope of Forge has probably sailed. Maybe one of them will hit 7 and they'll be like, I've got 7, I better buy the $7 card, and it could still happen. But at this point in the game, it's not even going to be easy to trash with Forge because your deck is so full of like provinces and stuff you don't necessarily want to trash. That'll be hard to thin much with it. Do you just buy province here? Uh, like my natural instinct is just to buy 2 hunting parties, but like there's wall in the kingdom, and maybe that just means you need to green sooner rather than later. Probably just province, I guess. Sad as it may be. Oh, I didn't even realize they were in the middle of resolving a tournament thingamajiggy. So maybe they can do province and hunting party. Yeah. Imagine taking the 4 silver option off of Trusty Steed. What is that's negative 12 points. Or like Leprechaun's best case scenario here is giving you negative 4 VP. Yeah, like I think that you're probably right that like if you were to hand me their decks even at this stage in the game, probably the best thing to do is still just to like make a last ditch effort to get hunting parties and get deck control just because of how many points that squares you off of wall and moving bandit 4 points too probably, and then you attack them a bunch and they never hit province again. Diadem gets us to province, I guess. Take back a gold. Wait, is follower still in there? How do I even check? I, Follow. Oh wow, none of us have taken follow yet. Jesus. Oh, oh yeah, that's brutal. Um, so in general, I would say the way that the prize pile works is like there's three top tier ish ones, which is Trusty Steed, Princess, and Followers, and there's like a pretty severe drop off in quality before you get to Bag of Gold and Diadem. Um, and among those top three, I would say, in probably 60 to 70% of kingdoms, Followers is the best one. I mean, sometimes it doesn't hurt that much. Sometimes you really need the actions or the plus buy or whatever. But usually, Followers is the best prize. It's like 2 attacks for the price of 1. Pretty painful. It's never too late. Oh. I think I would buy Hunting Party here. You're about to trigger a shuffle. I think if you were at the top of a shuffle, I'd more strongly consider Duchy. I guess you do both. Um, Nobles. Nobles is okay. It's worth points. And yeah, Forge there I think also seems totally reasonable. It's like it's erratic. You know, you could draw it in a hand where it's useless. You could draw it in a hand where it's amazing. Um, so it feels like a slightly higher risk line they need to take. But Forge would like not be a bad card to add to that deck. Um, I'm confident there's probably like FedEx truck going by, or it's too early for the kids to be out from school. But she does not like when the kids walk back from the bus. Sometimes there's literally just nothing, and she's barking at the house across the street. All right, Forge. Turn 14. Better late than never. That was interesting that they just passed that turn. One second. I'm gonna go deal with the dog. What do you see? What do you see? What is it? What is it? What? What? I swear to God, there is nothing there. I'm looking out the window at the same time she is, and there is not a living thing in sight. Maybe she just knows that like pretending to be concerned about something outside gets attention. I'm getting played. So yeah, this looks like it's pretty much on lock for xXLangus probably. So that's quite a comeback. From down 2 to a 4-2 victory. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't count the chickens before they hatch. Oh, and drawing followers dead is certainly quite a pain. I would be really happy if the Forge ends up swinging the game. That'd be a nice and just ending. I guess we're just buying nobles here. Could be Duchy plus Guardian. Same point as nobles. It adds a stop card to your deck, but it adds one more coin. Oh, Forge even for XXL. I was thinking XXL's win condition here is just to like take the provinces. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I think I'm sold. Even just trashing province into province is a pretty good play for XXL. I don't think the tournament forced you to do that. I think you forced yourself to do that. Yeah, you were fooled. So what do we do with this hand as IIMaddinII? You could trash Tournament Estate Curse into Nobles. That scores you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. It's not bad. Not the best Forge play ever. I think I would do that though. Like, obviously XXL doesn't have a province in hand, but you don't know that, so there's a good chance that if you play this tournament, it just ends up doing nothing. I think Tournament Estate Curse into Nobles looks like probably the best you can do. Oh, that's not 5. I think that's only 4 points, right? I didn't factor in the losing a point from an estate. So you gain 1 from trashing Curse, you lose 1 from trashing Estate. So that's neutral. You trash 3 cards and gained 1, so it's removing 2 wall points. And you gain 2 from Nobles, so that's 2 points. So 4 points if you do that. What alternatives are there? You could do... What about Gold Curse under Nobles? Is that better? That might be better, actually. So Gold Curse under Nobles, you score 1 point from thinning your deck by 1, 2 from Nobles, 2 from removing Bandit Forts, and 1 from trashing Curse. That's better. Gold Curse into Nobles scores you more points than Tournament Estate Curse into Nobles. So okay, that's what we do. Or we just fall on the sword. That was the last province. Maybe they miscounted it by 1 and thought that was gonna tie. Well, that's one way to end. Good games. xXLangusteXx takes it 4-2, and I presume is now the undisputed leader of the J20 division. Good luck in y'all's future league games.